Hello, hello. Today we are ranking the Australian hostels. Hi, if you've never seen my face before, my name is Kendra. I was backpacking in Australia for about a year. Did the East Coast twice, once in a car and once fully backpacking, Greyhound buses and everything. So I did spend quite some time in Australian hostels. So I thought, let's rank all the hostels I was at in Australia. Let's get right into it. We've got our tier list here, starting with where I landed first, which was Sydney. I did a Welcome to Sydney tour with Welcome to Travel. I was automatically put at Wake Up Central. With Wake Up, I stayed there twice technically, but I've also had my share between dorms and private rooms, which we rank separately. It was quite nice. So with Wake Up, they host events every night. There's a club right downstairs. It's not insanely loud, perfectly fine from the rooms. The only thing I would know that kitchens do get quite busy and the hubs are a bit fiddly, but bedroom wise, great. Social aspect of it, great. I would also like to note that the second time around of me staying there, the ATM swallowed my card. So bear that in mind. So with the dorms in Wake Up, I've got really nothing to complain about. They're nothing over the top though. So I think we're happy going in A. I think that sounds quite right. Wake Up as well, we've got the private rooms. Again, nothing special. You don't get a private bathroom, or at least I didn't. I don't know if that's an option. So it's not like I got an upgrade with anything there. It was bed. There was a TV in the room. That's about it. You don't even really lose the social aspect because you can still go down to like the wine and cheese night and all of them. But you're not socializing with the people in your room. I'd go with an A because you've got the privacy, but you're losing that little bit there. Next, we've got the Shiralee Hostel in Perth. So I went up the full East Coast the first time staying in Airbnbs past Sydney basically. I then did my farm work in the Northern Territory and I flew to Perth, assuming that that was one of my last stops before going home. Little did I know I'm doing the East Coast again. Perth, I ended up staying in the hostel the whole time. I slept for 2 whole days after I completed my farm work. I'm not even ashamed to say that. I was just so happy to get some rest. For the hostel itself, I was in a 4-bed female dorm. It wasn't the nicest dorm on earth. Nothing that I could pinpoint wrong with it. The outside little patio thing though, they had one in the front and then like one in the back. They were lovely, very sociable. Just for the lower grade maybe facilities, referring there to the bedrooms mainly, I think I'm going for B tier there. Now these will all be my personal opinion. You are fully free to disagree. If you do disagree, please let me know. The next one was the Village North in Melbourne. Upon doing research for this video, I'm pretty sure this was renamed to Little Drifter North Melbourne. So I don't know if there's a change of ownership. I cannot speak for it now if that is the case. I stayed in, I want to say September 2024. At the time, it was great. I stayed in the dorms. I did not stay in private rooms. Privacy curtains were absolutely lovely. One of the best, if not the best, that I've had the whole time in Australia. The lockers open up under your bed. Fine. I drank the Village at going in A. I have a feeling our A's are gonna be quite full. So when I got to Melbourne, I did another Welcome to Travel tour. Did the Welcome to Melbourne tour. One of them was 1 night away on Phillip Island. At this point, we were all booked in through the tour, so I was in a room with people from my tour. But that was, I'm pretty sure, 12 people in the room. But we all knew each other at that point. It wasn't really an issue. The showers were lovely. I don't have any complaints for Phillip Islands, and I don't know if that's because everything was sorted out by the tour, because I knew the people there. But I think we've got our first S tier here. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I've literally got no complaints. So at this point, the tour is done. Go back to Sydney. We're moving on from Sydney and we're going to Byron Bay, where I stayed at the surf house. So I was in a 6-bed mix, so dorm. I recall there being quite a dirty kitchen. Now again, we're looking back to end of 2024. Things change, potentially. This hostel had sliding lockers under your bed, so they were basically drawers under your bed. They were quite annoying, especially the one I ended up getting, because I ended up getting quite a cornery one. I also at a point dropped my phone off of the top bunk behind the beds, which also meant behind the lockers. That was not the best. I would also like to note that they were quite big. They fit my whole big backpack in it. It was just so annoying to get into. I think based off that, we're going a C. I know you could also rent surfboards. I think you can rent stand-up paddles. They've got all them services. I am not even 5 foot and I am not carrying a surfboard by myself to the water. So yeah, did not do that. Right, I've also gone ahead and added a few more of our options down there. So next one up on our list is bunk backpackers in Brisbane. I was in a 6-bed mixed with 5 guys. They did not say a word for the week I was there. There were no lockers. It was like a little shelfy thing, and we had bathrooms in the room, which was great. I think we're going back to our A's here. Similarly, I then stayed at bunk in Surfers Paradise. So bunk in Surfers has a pool, which I definitely saw a lot of people enjoying. I chose to stay up in my room reading a book. At that point I was over socializing. It's quite walkable as well from everything. So I walked from bunk to the beach where I had a surf lesson. I walked to 7-Eleven all the time. It's a great location. Again, I think we're just going with our standard A there. After Surfers, I went up to Noosa. So at Noosa, I stayed in 3 different hostels. There's, I think, another one that I did not stay at, which was Flashpacker, so I'm not going to be talking about that one. I started my stay in Nomads. I was in an 8-bed female dorm. I don't think I really have any complaints here. The room itself was pretty basic. It is just bunk beds shoved in there. No curtains, I definitely remember that. Oh, there's a pool. There's a bar. You can shuttle into other hostels. There's a hammock. There's, I think, like a beach volleyball court type thing. I also have a personal attachment to Nomads in Noosa. So again, based on my personal opinion, I think Nomads is going in S tier. After Nomads, we've got Bounce. Now Bounce is the hostel that you will see all over your Instagram. I don't know if I even have to talk to you about Bounce. It's going straight in S tier, so let's just put it there. Bounce is the hostel you book as a break from hostels. You're still in a hostel, they're lovely, they're clean. It's the one with the pink bathrooms. There's a pool. Bounce is beautiful. After Bounce, I stayed at Kangaroos, which is, I believe, YHA technically. This is where, if you're doing an Everglades tour, this is where the Everglades tour was set out from. As for the facilities themselves, it's not necessarily in town, but there is a shuttle a very limited number of times a day. I just bought everything before I went up and I didn't really have to use the shuttle. The kitchen there was great. I actually cooked there, which was not something I did in every hostel. Bathrooms were in a separate building, which was quite annoying. I was in a very small hut with like 3 other people. It's an experience. I want to put Kangaroos in S tier. I feel like people wouldn't necessarily agree with me there, which is fair enough. It's not for everyone. I loved it. This was also where I got my nature girly tattoo, so I was very much in my nature girly phase. We are now on to our last 6. So after Noosa, you're probably going to do either a 14 or I believe the other one's 17-hour bus ride. I get to Rainbow Beach. I've not slept in a bed. I get to Freedom Hostel, which is where I stayed. I find this weird bed. Not horrible. The horrible part is getting up to pee at 2 in the morning and finding a cockroach, literally, shit you not, that big, in the bathroom. That's where they lost me. So that is why Freedom Hostel is going in D for me. Absolutely not dealing with that. I'm not even scared of bugs, but it's just, I find cockroaches to just be associated with dirt. I think sewer, I think, ugh. After that, I went on Gari, did the camping there. I'm not going to give you a review of a tent. There's no options. It's a tent. After Gari, we are on to one of the prettiest places, Early Beach, where you've got the wet Sundays and everything nice. I stayed at another Nomads here, so Nomads Early Beach, and I was meant to have a 4-bed female dorm, but I only had one girl show up at like 5 p.m. She checked out at stupid o'clock the next day. I was there for like 2-3 days, no one else checked in, so I basically had a private. Again, nothing out of the ordinary. I did have a bath actually, as in I had a bathtub. Did I have a bath? No. We're going in a for the bathtub. We then have Magnums in Early Beach still. This was a private accommodation, kind of treehouse vibey, jungle-ish. The only thing that was annoying about this one is that I had a private room, but I still had bunk bed and bathrooms were still outside. Lovely views outside. I'm still going to be just for the sake that it's a private room. I'd expect like a bit better. Our next one after Early Beach is Magnetic Island. So this is a Nomads again. I was in a 6-bed mixed, which was basically the first set of dorms you have. You walk in, there's the bar, parties, everything. I'm the next thing after that. I did not have the best nights of sleep in Nomads Magnetic Island, and I value my sleep a lot, so I am sorry, but you're going in D. There is the good thing that the bus stop is right outside, and I mean right outside the hostel, so I'm just noting that. Okay, down to our last 3. So after Magnetic Island, I went to Mission Beach to do a skydive, which I still think is insane. I stayed at Jackaroo Treehouse Mission Beach in a 6-bed mixed dorm. What I can tell you about this is that you get a shuttle bus to and from the Greyhound bus stop. The skydive company, if you're doing Skydive Australia, also does pick up to and from Jackaroo. The plugs were very far away from the bed, like you're leaving your devices on like a little cabinet. I'm pretty sure there were no lockers, and it was very basic. Again, treehouse, lovely vibes. Facilities were pretty basic though. So once again, I'm thinking we go B. Our last 2 are both in Cairns. So we've got the iconic Gilligans. Again, I don't really think I need to speak to you about Gilligans, but it's basically a giant party hostel. You're either starting there if you're starting top down on the East Coast, or you're ending your trip there if you're doing autumn up. I was in a 6-bed female dorm and no one showed up for a good couple of days. There's no lockers, and again, it's a party hostel. Party will party. You don't hear the music, you just hear the bass. I had my loop earplugs and I could not hear a thing. I also had no issues sleeping at night, even without the loops. If you're absolutely not looking to go to a party or whatever, not your vibe, you could just avoid Gilligan's, honestly. But if you do like a party and also value your sleep like me, I would definitely recommend a pair of loop earplugs. I have an affiliate link with them. I'll leave it in the description down below in case that is something you're interested in. They also pretty much host something every night, something wild and crazy, but it's always a vibe. That's also basically where I separated from most of the people. Everyone's going back down to Melbourne, everyone's doing their own thing, so it was good and bad memories. The last hostel I stayed at was Global Backpackers in Cairns. So after partying at Gilligan's, I went off to the Uncle Brian's store, where we had a one-night sleepover with them anyway. Came back and I went to Global. At Global, I was in a 4-bed mixed dorm. For the majority of the time, I was there with one person who was a staff member. My issue is, I don't know, it's because she was kind of a long-term resident. The room was very cluttered, and if there were 4 people, that would have definitely not been enough space. I think just for the spatial reasons, we can go with B tier for our final one, and we've rounded off all the hostels I've stayed at in Australia. Now, with all of that being said, I do want to reiterate once again that that is fully my personal opinion. That is fully based off of my personal experience. It varies so much, person to person, hostel to hostel, week to week, I'd say. So with that information, what you will, I really do hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more of my face, I would ask you to subscribe down below. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
take what you want, go break my heart if you